Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So yesterday I did a video on a professional trading framework that you can use, and yesterday being July 11th, 2022, that you can use in order to capture amazing trades in the morning based on anywhere from typically 1 to 4 tickers that you might build conviction around. And then you can basically use this framework to execute those plays and capture some amazing wins. And today was a perfect example. Today being July 12th, 2022, perfect example on those plays working out. All three plays worked out, which actually isn't always the case, but today it was. And I want to talk about how I found those plays and how I executed against them. So the first thing you see here is I have up the TradingView live flow. Now I haven't covered this in previous videos, and I do plan to go into this more, but looking at the live flow, especially at the end of day or the previous day action, is a great way to get an idea of tickers that are being targeted, to at least bring them to your attention for further research. And you can see what I liked about this live flow, and again, this is looking at the live flow. This is all end of day, and I've noticed that when a lot of big money comes in end of day with directional bias, it's usually a good indication that there's some directional moves planned for the next day. And you can see this was all end of day, around anywhere starting from around 3:30 all the way to close at 4 p.m. And so I was seeing very large premiums come in for Lucid, for Microsoft. Now, it's worth noting that the Microsoft calls you see here were actually call selling, and then there was actually some pretty notable put buying, and the same goes for Meta. We can see some notable put buying, and actually I've liked Meta a lot lately. It's been on my list for a while, and when I was making the video yesterday, I noticed that whales were selling off, which I do have. It's in the video yesterday. I think I have a screenshot for it here, but then I do have some screenshots of the data I collected after seeing these. So after getting an idea, okay, these were 3 good plays, I immediately flipped over to looking at net flow for these tickers, and this confirms the bearishness that we see on Microsoft. We can see that there was some unusual large call selling on Microsoft targeted for 1 month out, which is always a good sign. I was also looking at the dark pool density, where we can see that we were right at notable levels that we could potentially reject off of, and we could see for big flow, again, we have call selling occurring with calls being on the bid side. And then same deal for Lucid. We could see that puts were on the rise, so there was a lot of put buying, which you could also see right here in the live flow. There's what appears to be huge amounts of put buying going on at the end of day. And then we can see for the biggest flow, again, we have some put buying above ask sweeps, which is always a good sign, especially for end of week. I really like seeing that one for $43,000, which is pretty significant for Lucid considering how cheap their options actually are. And then the whale watch I really liked. Now, it looked very similar for Meta as well. Actually, Meta even looked more bearish than this, but we could see that this strike, this 255 strike, was just massive sell-off for whatever whales that are targeting this chain. Extreme bearishness, whether it be call selling or put buying. So right there, that told me that these were going to be good plays I wanted to execute on. So let me jump over to the chart, and I'll talk about why I set the put entries that I had set. So the big thing was, so initially these were not my put entries. Last night I just put some put entries on the chart that you can see here for Microsoft and here for Meta, and I'll go over Lucid in a second. But then what ended up happening is in the after hours, we saw NQ moving higher. We saw a big run up, and of course that showed a lot of tech moving up with it. So initially my put entries were lower. They were actually right around 264.90 for Microsoft, and then as I saw this happening, I was forced to move them up. And so looking at the prior day price action, I really liked this particular candle right here, this strong rejection. Now yesterday we did end up pushing through it, but we could see it was actually notable resistance, and then even once we got above it, we rejected out of it. So this was the most logical entry area, this zone right here for me. Now if I entered anywhere in this area and then we broke above it, I would just take my stop, and I wouldn't enter unless we had confirmation, and now meaning candles and wicks and things like that. Now the thing that that's worth noting as well is if we look over at Meta, it's the same deal. Now this one didn't push up as far in the pre-market, but it was still coming up. So initially I was looking for entries off of this level, and as it started pushing up, it actually forced me to, I didn't want to really see it push past the high of day yesterday. Now the high of day was all the way up here, but at least I meant this area right here. And then what I did is, when I looked further left to see previous price action, the top of this zone was actually based on the lows of July 6, 2022. So that's how I got this entry zone for my put entries. So meaning that we pull back into this zone and we reject. Now you'll notice with Meta, this wasn't as clean as Microsoft was, and I'll go over these in a second, but it actually came above my put entry zone. I did not enter, but then once I saw this huge selling, and I apologize for the background noise. I'm actually doing this during my lunch hour, so there's messages and things coming in, but I just wanted to cover it while things were still fresh for anyone that's interested. Now, as we rejected and we started moving lower, and I started seeing QQQ and SPY selling off, everything started pushing lower altogether. You could see Microsoft basically rejected right away, which was a beautiful entry. I mean, it doesn't really get much better. Now, that being said, when I first start watching these, I do actually do them on the 1 minute, and we could see immediately we reject. We try to push a little bit higher on low volume and reject again. So I had a late entry on Microsoft, but as you can see, it still worked out. And unfortunately, my profit targets aren't on the chart. I wish I would have saved them, but I basically scaled out the whole way down. Now, I was managing multiple trades, which actually ended up working in my favor because I didn't scale out as quickly as I would have if I was just focusing on one. But same with Meta. When we saw this rejection and then we started pushing lower, I was able to get in right around here, and Meta was not as great as a play as Microsoft was or Lucid was. Lucid was also a fantastic play. So, and it actually sort of played out the same way. So let me go to the 3 minute here, and we can see again in the pre-market things were moving up, forcing me to move my put entry higher. If you watched my video yesterday, you know that I never chase breaks of levels. I always like to see pullbacks and then a hold if I'm entering puts. And the same with calls. If I'm entering calls, I'd want to see it pull down into a level, hold, and then shoot higher. So Lucid opens, my put entry was the top of this consolidation here, and I had this little area right here as my entry zone. And as you can see, same sort of deal. We move higher, the entire market shifts direction, we cap out. I get this long high volume doji, which is a sign of a massive struggle between buyers and sellers. It's something always great to see when you're looking for a level hold or a reversal. So I'm put biased because of all the conviction built up from options flow. And now when I see this tells me, okay, this is likely going to work out in my favor. And then we start seeing these big red candles, and then it was time to get in puts. So anyway, it was a fantastic start to the day. It is always great when you see this, your pre-planning and everything work out exactly as hoped. I ended up having, I was watching these triggers and adjusting them literally all the way up into 9:25 in the morning. And then what was really nice is that after being done with these plays, because the market was rejecting with it, I actually was able to take puts, well, technically it was short entries on micro ES, but for all intents and purposes, puts on SPY. Now, this price action over here didn't show, but I was actually able to get in right around this consolidation and catch this whole move lower, which was fantastic as well. So it just was a great start to the morning. Since then, we've been chopping and chopping around, there haven't really been a lot of good entries. But again, that's the whole idea of the framework, is that we secure our bags early in the morning, and we with proper planning and conviction established, and then we get out and move on with our day. So anyway, I hope this helps someone, and I really appreciate you watching. If you are interested in signing up for TradeEdX, I left a referral link in the description, along with some other referral links for TradingView and whatnot. So give that a try if you are interested. It's an incredible service, and it pays for itself literally in one trade. So I appreciate you guys watching.